All right, welcome everyone to another deep dive. Today we're tackling some seriously ancient stuff. I mean, seriously old texts that have had a huge impact on, well, on pretty much everything.
Yeah, we're talking about the Vedas and the
Right,
Upanishads.
the Vedas and the Upanishads.
So these are, think of them as like foundational blueprints, for
Yeah.
understanding, not just like spirituality and stuff, but like how the universe works,
Right.
our consciousness,
Yeah.
what it even means to be a human.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating is where these texts supposedly come from.
Yeah, so the Vedas, right, they're traditionally considered to be apariya, which is a fancy word for saying not created by humans.
Not human-made.
Yeah, not in the usual way, like someone sitting down with a quill or whatever they used back then.
Right.
These were like received by ancient sages in these deep states of awareness.
Like channeled or something.
Kinda, yeah, something like that.
Wow.
And then you have the Upanishads, which are basically the concentrated essence of the Vedas.
The Cliff Notes.
In a way, yeah, but way more profound.
Of course.
They zero in on things like self-realization, the soul, and Brahman.
Brahman, that's the ultimate reality, right?
Exactly, the source of everything.
So for our listeners today, what we really want to do is dig into how this ancient wisdom, all this stuff from thousands of years ago, can still be relevant today.
Yeah, it's not just history, right?
Right.
These ideas, these Vedantic concepts about consciousness, about the universe, they can actually offer some pretty profound insights for your life.
Even today.
Even today.
It's mind-blowing.
Totally.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning.
Okay.
What are the Vedas? I mean, it's such a big term.
It is a big term, right?
Yeah.
So basically, the Vedas are like the oldest scriptures we know of.
Like the OG scripture.
The OG scriptures, exactly. Written in Sanskrit thousands of years ago.
Thousands.
And they're the foundation for a whole massive tradition of, intellectual and spiritual thought.
Right.
And there are four main Vedas.
Four main ones.
Yeah, and you can see how, like, early humans tried to understand the world.
Yeah.
Both the world outside them and the world inside.
Cool.
Through these four Vedas.
Okay, let's break them down one by one.
Let's do it.
So first up, the Rig Veda.
All right, the Rig Veda.
This is the oldest one, right?
The oldest, yeah.
What makes it so special?
So the Rig Veda is mainly hymns and praises to these, like, cosmic forces.
Cosmic forces like gods.
Kind of, yeah, but think of them more as, like, early understandings of nature's powers.
Go.
Like Indra, who's associated with storms.
Storms, okay.
Agni, who's fire.
Got it.
And Varuna, who represents, like, water and cosmic order.
But like the elements and the forces that control them.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
There's this hymn in the Rig Veda. It's called an Asadhya Sukta.
Sadhya Sukha.
Yeah.
Okay,
Try saying that 3 times fast.
I'll pass on that one.
But anyway, it's this really abstract contemplation of how the universe began.
Like creation myths.
Yeah. But it hints at this state of non-being before existence.
Like a void.
Yeah, like a void.
An expansion, right?
Exactly, expansion. Like, it's almost like they had an inkling of the expanding universe theory.
Wow, way ahead of their time.
Right. It blows your mind.
It really does.
I mean, to think that they were thinking about this stuff thousands of years ago.
It makes you realize how timeless these big questions are.
Totally. Like, where do we come from?
Exactly. What is all this?
Humans have always wanted to know.
Always.
Okay, so that's the Rig Veda, the oldest one.
Yep.
What about the next one?
Okay, so next in line we have the Yajurveda.
The Yajurveda.
And this one gets a bit more practical.
Practical in what sense?
It's like a guidebook, you know?
like a how-to manual.
Yeah, a how-to manual for rituals and sacrifices.
Okay.
The idea being that through these rituals, you can connect with those cosmic energies.
The ones we talked about before, Indra, Agni, and all that.
Exactly. The ones we talked about before.
So it's like in the Rig Veda, you praise them, you acknowledge them,
Right.
and then in the Yajurveda, you actually try to interact with them.
Actively engage.
Exactly, through these specific actions and offerings.
So trying to, like, influence those cosmic forces.
Yeah, trying to participate in the cosmic order.
Wow.
It's pretty heady stuff.
It is.
But that's the Yajurveda for you.
Okay, and then we have the Samaveda, which is all about the power of sound, right?
You got it. The Samaveda is all about melodies and chants.
Chanting.
Chanting, yeah.
Okay.
And the idea here is that sound vibrations, especially when chanted in a specific way, can actually elevate your consciousness.
Like a spiritual sound bath.
Kind of, yeah. It's about using sound to tap into those deeper levels of your being.
Wow. Like ancient music therapy, but for the soul.
That's a great way to put it.
It's fascinating how much they understood about the power of sound back then.
Yeah, and it's still relevant today, right?
Totally.
People are rediscovering the power of sound healing,
It's
chanting.
all coming back around. Okay, so we've got the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sama Veda,
Right.
and finally we have the Atharva Veda.
Ah, the Atharva Veda, the wild card of the bunch.
What makes it a wild card?
Well, it covers such a wide range of topics.
Wider than the others.
Yeah, it's like the Veda of knowledge and healing, but in a really broad sense.
Okay.
It's got mantras for spiritual well-being, sure.
Right.
But it also has stuff about medicine.
Medicine.
Yeah, healing practices.
Interesting.
Protection from harm, even what you might call early scientific understandings.
Early science.
Yeah, like observing the natural world and figuring out how to work with it.
Wow, so it's like a blend of spirituality, medicine, and even early science.
Exactly, it's a real mix.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the Atharva Veda is like a treasure trove of practical knowledge.
So we've got these 4 Vedas, this incredible range of human understanding from cosmology to rituals, sound, and practical knowledge.
Yeah, it's amazing how much ground they covered.
It is, but something you said earlier kind of surprised me.
What's that?
You said the Vedas encourage seeking knowledge and questioning.
Right.
That's not always the image we have of ancient religious texts.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but the Vedic tradition is actually all about inquiry.
Inquiry.
Yeah, like using your own intellect, your own experiences to understand things.
It's not about blind faith.
Not at all. It's about questioning, exploring, figuring things out for yourself.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
It is. It's a very open-minded approach.
And that sets the stage perfectly for the Upanishads.
Yeah, the Upanishads.
Which you called the pearls of wisdom earlier.
Right, the pearls of wisdom.
So how do they differ from the Vedas? How does the focus shift?
Well, the word Upanishad itself is a clue.
Okay.
It means sitting near the teacher.
So like an intimate setting.
Exactly. It implies this kind of secret knowledge being passed down.
From a guru to a student?
Yeah, a guru to a dedicated student.
Okay, I see.
And that right there indicates a shift.
What kind of shift?
The Vedas have philosophical stuff, sure. But the Upanishads, they really focus on inner wisdom, on realizing your true self.
So it's more introspective.
Way more introspective and less about external rituals, which you see a lot of in the Vedas.
So it's going deeper, focusing on the internal experience.
That's it.
And the Upanishads also tackle some really big questions.
They do, like huge questions.
The kind of questions people have been asking forever.
Yeah, totally. Like, who am I really?
Yeah.
What's the point of all this?
Yeah.
What happens after we die?
Those are the big ones, all right.
They are, and the Upanishads try to answer them.
And they offer some powerful concepts to help us explore those questions.
They do.
One that always stands out is Tat Tvamasi.
Ah, Tat Tvamasi.
What does that mean?
Okay, so it means that thou art.
That thou art. Okay.
It's a statement of non-duality.
Non-duality, meaning?
Meaning that there's no separation between you and the ultimate reality.
Okay, I think I'm following it.
Imagine like the ocean, right?
The ocean, okay.
All the waves on the ocean. Each wave looks different, right?
Yeah.
But they're all just water.
Right, they're all part of the same ocean.
Exactly, and that's what Tatvamasi is saying.
Our individual selves, our Atman, are all part of the same Brahman.
That's it. That's the core idea.
Profound stuff.
It is.
And then there's Aham Brahmasmi.
Right. Aham Brahmasmi.
How does that relate to Tat Tvamasi?
So Aham Brahmasmi means I am Brahman.
I'm a Brahmin.
It's like the realization of Tat Tvamasi.
So understanding it on an intellectual level versus actually experiencing it.
Exactly. It's not just a concept anymore. It's a lived experience.
Wow, so it's like saying I am one with the ultimate reality.
That's a great way to put it.
These are some seriously mind-bending ideas.
They are, but that's the beauty of the Upanishads.
They really make you think.
They do.
And speaking of thinking, the source material you sent mentioned some really interesting parallels between the Upanishads and modern science.
Oh, yeah, there's some fascinating connections there.
That really caught my attention.
It's amazing how much these ancient texts seem to anticipate modern scientific thought.
Like they were tapping into something fundamental.
Total.
So, for example, the Chandogya Upanishad talks about the universe originating from a single sound, oh.
Oh.
And people have compared that to the Big Bang Theory.
Exactly. The Big Bang Theory says the universe started from a singularity.
A single point.
Right. And the Chandogya Upanishad describes this primordial sound, OM, as the beginning.
Yeah, not a scientific prediction,
I mean,
obviously.
of course not.
But it's the idea of a single origin point.
Yeah, that's the fascinating part.
Like they intuited something about the nature of the universe.
It's pretty wild.
It really is.
And then you have the Mundaka Upanishad, which talks about interconnectedness.
Interconnectedness. Okay.
Yeah, like everything in the universe being connected.
Like a web.
Yeah, like a cosmic web.
And that reminds me of quantum entanglement,
Exactly, quantum entanglement.
where particles can be linked, even across vast distances.
Right, and what happens to one particle instantly affects the other.
And the Mundaka Upanishad is basically saying everything is linked in a similar way.
Yeah, it's this idea of a deep, fundamental interconnectedness.
It's amazing how these ancient ideas resonate with modern science.
It is. It's like they were looking at the same reality just through different lenses.
Totally.
And then there's Maya.
Maya, which is the illusion of reality, right?
Yeah, Maya is this idea that our everyday perception of reality is, well, kind of an illusion.
Illusion.
Yeah, like we think we're separate. We think the material world is solid and permanent.
Right, that's how we experience it.
But the Upanishads say that's not the ultimate truth.
And that kind of reminds me of simulation theory.
Totally. Simulation theory asks if our reality is actually a simulation.
Like a computer program or something.
Yeah, and both Maya and simulation theory are making us question what's real.
They're both pushing us to look beyond the surface.
Exactly, to question our assumptions.
Pretty mind-blowing stuff.
It is.
Okay, so the Upanishads talk about the universe, they talk about reality, and they also delve into the nature of consciousness, right?
Or do, yeah.
The different states of consciousness we experience.
Right, the Mandukya Upanishad talks about three main states.
Three main states.
Yeah, the first one is Jagrat,
Jagrat, okay.
which is our waking consciousness, when we're focused on the world around us.
Our everyday awareness.
Exactly.
Okay, what's the second state?
The second state is Swapna,
Swapna.
which is the dream state.
Dreams, okay.
Yeah, when our inner world takes over.
Makes sense.
And the third state is Sushupti.
Sushupti.
This one's deep sleep.
Dreamless sleep.
Yeah, when you're totally unconscious, deeply resting.
Okay, so those are the three states we all experience every day.
Pretty much, yeah.
But the Upanishads say there's actually a fourth state.
They do. There's one beyond these three.
A fourth state of consciousness.
Right, it's called Turiya. Kriya.
Okay.
And it's hard to describe,
I bet.
but imagine, like, a movie playing on a screen. The movie changes.
Different scenes,
Oh,
character.
Yeah, but the screen stays the same.
Right, it's the constant background.
Exactly. And Turiya is like that screen.
It's the unchanging awareness behind everything.
That's it. It's pure awareness.
Wow.
It's considered the ultimate truth, the ground of being.
So it's like the silent witness to all our experiences.
Yeah, a good way to put it.
And how do we access this Turiya?
Well, the Upanishads say that practices like meditation and self-inquiry can help.
Meditation, okay.
Yeah, because meditation quiets the mind.
Right, all those thoughts running around.
Exactly. And self-inquiry is about asking, who am I?
Who am I? Yeah.
And really investigating that question deeply.
So by quieting the mind and inquiring into our true nature.
Yeah, we can start to glimpse that pure awareness, that Turiya.
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
It is powerful, and it's a practice. It takes time.
Not a quick fix.
Definitely not.
Okay, this is all super fascinating.
Right.
But I think a lot of people listening might be wondering how to actually apply this ancient wisdom to their lives.
Yeah, that's the key question, isn't it?
Like, how can these ideas be relevant in the 21st century?
Totally. So let's bridge that gap.
Let's do it.
So the source material actually offers some practical applications.
Okay, good.
One of the most accessible ones is meditation.
Meditation, we talked about that.
We did, but even just 10 or 15 minutes a day.
That's doable.
Right. It's not a huge commitment,
No, not at all.
but it can make a big difference.
In what way?
It helps clear your mind, reduce stress, bring more peace,
And that's something we all need.
especially in today's world.
Totally agree.
So meditation, that's one practical application.
Okay.
Another one is the concept of karma.
Karma, yeah. What goes around comes around.
Kind of, but it's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
The idea is that your actions, both physical and mental, have consequences.
So every action has a reaction.
Exactly, and those reactions shape your future.
So it's about taking responsibility for your actions.
Exactly, understanding that what you do matters.
It's like a cosmic cause and effect.
Yeah, a good way to think about it.
So that's karma, and then there's dharma.
Right, dharma.
That's a tricky one to define.
It is, but in this context, it's about doing what's right.
Right. Ethically.
Yeah, ethically, morally.
Aligning with your true nature.
Exactly, and contributing to the greater good.
So not just doing what's easy, but what's right.
Exactly. It's about living with integrity, with a sense of purpose.
That's a powerful idea.
It is, and it applies to all aspects of life.
Okay, what about material possessions?
The Upanishads talk a lot about detachment from material things.
Attachment.
Yeah, not necessarily getting rid of everything,
Right.
but more about realizing that true happiness doesn't come from stuff.
That's an internal thing.
Exactly. It comes from within, from realizing your true self.
So it's about contentment, not constantly chasing more things.
That's it. It's a really important message, especially in our consumerist society.
So true. We're bombarded with messages telling us we need more to be happy.
It's relentless, but the Upanishads offer a different perspective.
A more fulfilling one, I'd say.
I think so too.
And finally, the source material talked about gratitude and awareness.
Yes, gratitude and awareness.
Those seem like really important practices.
They are. The Upanishads encourage us to be present in the moment.
Living in the now.
Yeah, appreciating what we have.
Being grateful.
Exactly. And that's what modern mindfulness is all about too.
Right, it's about cultivating awareness and gratitude.
And that can really reduce anxiety, stress.
Help us enjoy life more.
Totally.
So we've got meditation, karma, dharma, detachment, gratitude, and awareness.
Yeah, a whole toolkit for living a more meaningful life.
Drawn from these ancient texts.
It's amazing.
It really is, and the source material mentioned that people like Albert Einstein and J. Robert Oppenheimer studied the Vedas and Upanishads.
Oh, yeah, those are just two examples.
I mean, those are some seriously brilliant minds.
Some of the greatest minds in history.
And they were drawn to these ancient texts.
It shows you how deep and universal these ideas are.
Timeless wisdom, really.
Absolutely. It transcends cultures and time periods.
Wow. Well, this has been an incredible deep dive.
It has been fun.
We've only scratched the surface of the Vedas and Upanishads,
Just a glimpse.
but they're a treasure trove of knowledge.
A living wisdom that's still relevant today.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a question.
Okay.
What part of this ancient wisdom resonates most with you?
That's a great question.
Something to reflect on.
Yeah, what speaks to you personally?
Because these texts offer so much.
They really do.
So, yeah, take some time to ponder that
Explore these ideas.
and see what you discover.
It's a journey worth taking.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.